All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about Web3 today and a massive challenge it's facing. How do we bring some order, some trust to the decentralized web? Because, it's this place of just incredible innovation, but let's be honest, it can feel, well, pretty chaotic. So, let's get into it. So let me ask you something. When you're about to use a new D app, that's a decentralized app, or you're thinking about minting an NFT, how do you actually know if it's any good? Is it secure? Is it legit? It's a tough question, right? And honestly, this is one of the biggest things holding back mass adoption. It's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
And that right there, that question, it gets us straight to the heart of the problem. People love to call Web3 the Wild West, and you know what? It's a pretty good analogy. It's this wide-open frontier, tons of opportunity for sure, but it's missing some of those basic things we rely on everywhere else, like clear rules and a way to build trust.
The bottom line is this. Right now, there's no universal measuring stick. There's no single agreed-upon way to figure out how good a project is or how trustworthy a smart contract might be. And that gap, well, that's where all the confusion and the risk comes from for pretty much everyone.
And look, this isn't just one simple problem. It goes so much deeper. We're talking about things like, how do you even evaluate the quality of a project? How do you check if an NFT's metadata is actually stored safely and isn't just going to disappear? How do you know the reputation of a contract or even a wallet? It's a lot. Each of these is a huge headache on its own.
Okay, so when you've got a problem that big, that complex, you're going to need a really ambitious solution, right? And that's where we pivot, because now we're going to talk about a potential answer, a new protocol that's designed to step in and fill that exact gap.
And here it is, WSEO. That stands for Web3 Search Exposure Optimization Protocol. Now that's a mouthful, but the word you really want to focus on here is foundational. This isn't just another app you download. The idea is for this to be the bedrock, the underlying rulebook that helps make everything else on Web3 a whole lot more transparent and easier to find.
And this is a great way to think about the difference. You see, a tool, that's for one specific job. It solves one problem. But what we're talking about here is a protocol, a standard, and an index all wrapped into one. That's not a tool. That's a foundational layer for the entire ecosystem. It's built for mass adoption, not just for one person's use.
Okay, so foundational protocol sounds awesome, but how does it actually work? Because you can't just take the old rules from, say, Google SEO and slap them onto the blockchain. It just doesn't work that way. Web3 is a totally different animal, so it needs a completely new way of thinking about optimization.
And just take a look at the sheer scope of what needs to be optimized in this space. It's mind-boggling. We're not just talking about websites, we're talking about the blockchains themselves, the dApps, DAOs, even the social connections between wallets. We're talking about the guts of an NFT's metadata, where it's stored. It is a massively complex and interconnected web of on-chain data. So how do you even begin to tackle all that complexity? Well, the WSEO protocol breaks it down into 3 core pillars. Let's dig into each one to see how they all fit together.
All right, pillar number 1, the WSEO crawler. The easiest way to think about this is like the protocol's scout. It's the engine that's constantly scanning the huge cross-chain landscape, just gathering up all the raw data it needs to figure out what's what.
So what does this crawler actually do? Well, it's a 4-step process. First, it scans all kinds of assets, contracts, NFTs, you name it. Step 2, it verifies the important stuff, like is the metadata stored properly on IPFS? Step 3, it analyzes deeper things like wallet reputation and security. And then finally, it crunches all of that information down into one single unified WSEO score.
But wait a second, how does the crawler know what to look for? How does it decide what's good and what's bad? That's a great question, and it brings us to pillar number 2, the WSEP standard. This is basically the rulebook. It lays out a clear set of best practices for what a high-quality, trustworthy Web3 asset should actually look like.
And what's cool is that this isn't some generic one-size-fits-all deal. As you can see here, the standards are super specific. WSEP1, for example, is all about the metadata requirements for NFTs. But then you have WSEP4, which is focused on the reputation of smart contracts. It's a really tailored approach, which is exactly what you need.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got the crawler gathering the data, we've got the standard providing the rules, and all of that hard work culminates in our third and final pillar, the WSEO reputation score. This is the payoff. It's the final, tangible score that represents trust and quality. And here's the kicker. It lives directly on the blockchain.
Now, the fact that this score is on-chain is a really big deal. Why? Because it means it's totally public. Anyone can check it, anyone can verify it. DAOs and NFT marketplaces can plug this score right into their platforms to give their users a clear signal of quality. This kind of radical transparency is a huge weapon against scams and a massive step towards building real trust.
So, we've gone through the what and the how, but that leaves the biggest question of all. So what? Why does this even matter? What's the real impact of having a system like this out in the wild?
Well, the short answer is it matters to pretty much everyone. This isn't some niche solution for a small problem. Blockchains need a way to show off the quality projects in their ecosystem. Marketplaces desperately need it to help protect their users. And developers, they need a way to prove that they're building things the right way, following the best practices.
And if you need any more proof of why this is so urgent, just look at this quote. A large portion of NFTs and contracts have deficient metadata. That's not a small problem. That's a systemic issue. We're talking about a huge number of assets in Web3 that are built on shaky ground. That's a risk for the entire space.
So when you put it all together, the benefits become really clear for everybody involved. Marketplaces get those quality metrics they've been missing, developers get a clear way to show they're compliant with Web3 SEO, and the entire ecosystem gets a common language to talk about trust and quality. It helps everyone build better and with more confidence.
And that's really the final takeaway here. It isn't just one of these pieces that makes the difference. It's the whole combination. You need the protocol as the foundation, you need the indexer to do the legwork, you need the standard to be the rulebook, and you need the reputation score to make all that work visible and, most importantly, useful. So, that leaves us with one final, big question to chew on. We started this whole thing by talking about the Wild West of Web3. Could a standard like this, could it finally be what paves the roads, sets up the signposts, and builds the trust this new frontier needs to really truly thrive? It's a powerful idea. Thanks so much for tuning in.